Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. Our next guests are the stars and director of the new film, Night Comes On. It's a beautifully told story about a young woman released from a juvenile detention center just before her 18th birthday and faced with the responsibility of taking care of her younger sister. Let's take a look.
She used to say that the cars in the night could sound like the ocean. You squeeze your eyes tight enough, you can almost see the sun. Problem is, it don't work if your eyes are always wide open.
Keep a dose 16, we slang. Pour medicine, let me drink. Candy sweet, it keep little pimpin', sippin' till he dizzy, man. He's spinning like a ceiling fan. I don't wanna feel a thing. I pray, Lord, I ought to be saved, a sinner with innocent way.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you knew where my dad was. I wanted to ask you if you had my dad's address.
He looked different.
Put on some pounds.
No, not that. That's Cherise, and she's crazy. Angel, I forgot. I did see him a few months ago.
You cannot come with me.
Angel, I don't want to be with him.
You don't need him, you got yourself.
Abby, why do you have a gun? You gonna do something bad?
Abby, come on.
Are you coming back with me?
Everybody, please welcome director Jordana Spiro, Tatum Marilyn Hall, and Dominique Fishback. Thanks so much for being here. I think that trailer is a perfect representation of what it feels like watching this film. That score is right on, and those images feel very much collaged together as though that trailer does, but I think within scenes, they feel that way. It's a very well-told movie. Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
Let's talk about what made you want to tell this story. How did you come upon a revenge film that sort of removes a lot of the exploitational elements that I think most revenge films have, whether they have a woman or a man at the center?
Well, thank you for saying it that way. Because that's really what I tried to do. I wanted to make a story that was about an unrepresented and often misrepresented person, and really give her a kind of a grace and a kind of a complexity and poetry in her inner life. A character for whom we cast aside, that we diminish, and give her some richness and some depth. At the same time, I wanted it to have an engine, just narratively to have an engine, and so I thought that kind of the revenge structure would be really interesting, because also at the heart of it, it's about somebody who has been told so many times that she's powerless, and purposeless and worthless, that she's begun to believe it herself. And so this is her kind of clawing at something to make her feel like she has some meaning. It's misguided and it's not the right thing to do, but she's grasping at straws. And so that's where all that came together.
Now, there is talking in this film and there are scenes, but a lot of it is internal monologue that our main character is going through, and there's a lot that we can kind of put on her as an audience member. We can assume what she's thinking, we can reflect on what has happened to find out what she's thinking, but so much of that rests on watching this face. How did you come across Dominique, and what made you know for sure that that would be a face that would be endlessly watchable?
It's so exciting that you again say it that way. This is
Well,
really
I remember seeing her in The Deuce, like when The Deuce premiered, and going, oh, that's a face that's watchable. Hopefully this will be going on for a long time.
But that's exactly what was the trick about finding Angel and finding the right person to be Angel. Was we needed to find somebody for whom we can watch in silence, and really care about what they're thinking. And Dominique is this person that just has this extraordinary soul. And her soul is so strong and so rich and so intelligent and so thoughtful that it just comes out of her eyes and it's exuded through her face. And that was that was the key, actually, to finding Angel. So I'm glad that that's what you felt, and and it's just I'm really proud of Dominique and what she brought to the film, and really grateful because she put a lot of her heart into it. She put all of her heart into it, and it was really meaningful.
Presence is the word used by David Rooney from The Hollywood Reporter here, magnetic presence, and I agree with that. And this is a really hard question that I'm going to ask you, but I think back of my favorite actors are people who just have a magnetic presence. They have craft and they have skill, which you have, but they also have something that you turn the camera on and you just want to watch what they're going to do, and I think that you have that. Is that something that you are aware of as a performer when you're on camera, or are you focusing on other aspects of performance while you're working?
I think that if I focused on that as a performer, then I would psych myself out, go crazy. So most of the time I try to think the thoughts of the character. I like to journal as a character. I like to put music to each scene. So let's say something that I journaled, a line sticks out to me. I try to put that back in my mind. If that doesn't work, maybe there's a piece of a lyric of a song that sticks with me, that represents where my character is at that time. But of course, we're all human, so sometimes it could flick, you could come in and out of it, and that's when you have great directors like Jordana to say, let's do that again, or ask you a question and pose it a different way, and then you internalize it and go forward.
What was it like for you jumping into a project that was going to be a lot of, as we were saying, internal monologue and a lot of scenes with no words that are really about you communicating a feeling more so than like a very clear objective a lot of the time? I mean, you're coming from The Deuce is your last project, which is television, and television is always about writing. And each scene, I feel like, with actors on television is very clear in terms of motivation. With this, it's a little bit different. There's a sort of free flow of the scenes. Yeah.
That's what drew me to Angel, was the fact that all her things were done mostly in silence. And I remember watching, Millie Bobby Brown and Stranger Things, and being like, she doesn't say anything. What a gift to an actor to get the opportunity to play a character where you don't have to say words, where it's all just through your eyes and everything like that. And then Angel came, and I was like, oh, well, there's my opportunity to try it. So that's pretty much what it was.
I think big difference with Millie Bobby is that Millie Bobby Brown's expressions in Stranger Things are like, I'm scared, I'm angry. Like yours is so much more about pain that you had felt before and a slight fear of what could happen in your future. And you're just sort of resting in this, I think, much more subtle area and doing it very well. Tatum, you're incredible as well. The two of you play very well opposite each other. How did the two of you work together?
Okay.
I also love your glasses.
Those
are so cool.
Thank you. Me and Dom, I feel like we worked perfectly together. I feel like she had the perfect personality that just helped me so much since it was my first film, first anything. And I feel like she helped me so much with her personality and the way that she was and her actions. And she was just such a great person to work with. And it was just so amazing to work with her. It was just like, there's like literally like no words to describe it. That's how great it was to work with her. And she was just so amazing. And her acting was on point. It was amazing.
Yours was on point too. Yeah, very natural and very emotional. You're incredible.
Thank you. She just had this emotion that I had never seen before. She had this way of being that I had never seen before. She was just like this spectacular, one-of-a-kind person that like you usually don't meet out in the street anywhere.
I was like, whoa.
I'm like tearing up, Jesus.
Yeah, like she was amazing.
Well, to piggyback off of Tatum, like obviously you all know that she's amazingly talented, and
I was hoping you were going to piggyback off of that and like to piggyback off that. I am pretty amazing.
She's
Thank
absolutely
you.
right. No, but I remember watching being in the bus scene with her, and the moment where she takes the selfie, and then I say, you know, I'm not supposed to see you unsupervised, and there's no words. She just kind of sinks back down, and her eyes shift, and I'm like, oh wow, you know. So I told her after, you know, I'm like, great job. I tried to, you know, encourage her in between takes, but also I think what was really important was we had rehearsals before we started filming at Jordana's house. And so we got to know each other there and got to say, like, Tatum asked me one time, like, Dom, are you mad at me? And I was like, no, I'm not mad at you, but Angel's going through a lot of things, and I'm gonna try to stay true to that so that I could be a great vessel for her. So in between takes, even when we're on set or if it's in rehearsal, I'm not gonna play with you. And even her parents too, they wanted me to be, you know, treat her like anybody else. They didn't want me to kind of coddle her. So I didn't plan on it. But you know, it's good to have parents around that's like, yeah, it's okay, you know.
Yeah, just be mean to her. It's cool. It'll come off great on screen. No.
Well, but it wasn't mean. It was
I know.
more internal. Yeah. And so for her to ask that and see that or to feel it sometimes, I think allowed Angel and Abby to really become sisters for the film.
I think you give a very naturalistic performance, which is a rarity for performers your age. And I'm wondering what that was like for you on set, how you worked with her to get that, or if that was something that you were just like, wow, this is, I mean, very, very, very lucky. Great casting, but there is nothing about the performance that feels like a kid being precocious or performing. It feels very natural and lived in.
Well, thank you for saying that. And you know, we auditioned about over 1,000 girls to find Tatum. She had not acted before, but what she had was, you know, Abby has a lot of different sides to her. She's funny, she's chatty, she is Angel's lifeline.
She also has a lot of agency for a child.
Exactly,
role. Yeah.
Exactly. She represents life, and Angel has a foot in the grave, essentially. And Abby has enough life that she can pull Angel out. She has life force to spare, which really, for me, is a testament to the incredible resiliency and bravery of a lot of these young kids in foster care. So, but what she also had on top of this incredible wit and sarcasm and chatterboxness and all this sort of love and energy and vivaciousness was this incredible emotional accessibility and this kind of just this real depth and maturity and intelligence and feeling and so that was really there, and I think, you know, what I've heard about an expression I heard about directing, which is, you know, 90% of directing is casting, that you have to make sure you cast it right, and I think and I know for sure we did that, and we looked high and low to make sure that we were doing that, because the film truly does rest on their shoulders completely. And then the rehearsal process was really important, because I wanted her to feel grounded enough and comfortable enough in the in the character, that when you introduce all the technical elements on set and the rush and the, oh my God, we're losing the light and all of this stuff that can really make any kind of emotion that you're feeling just run out the door.
Also new ideas as well, in case something isn't working the way it was during rehearsal.
She's an incredible improviser as well. So that gave us a real chance to kind of cement their relationship. And Dom was very generous as well in just being present to that rehearsal process, which is really something that you don't get to have. And so that was something special. But then on set, you know, it sort of changed for every scene. Sort of our approach. I don't know. Is there something you would want to share about one particular scene of how you might have approached a heavier emotion?
Okay, so let me think about this. Okay, so when we were on the beach, when it was kind of towards the end, when I was like, "Oh, are you gonna come back with me?" That in that particular scene, I felt like I had to reach a point of emotion that I had to dig up, like from deep, 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 deep inside of me, and just I had to bring it all up, and I had to mix lots of things that have happened in my life. I had to mix a whole lot of stuff so that I could come up with this one emotion, so that it would come out my face, my eyes, my everything. And it was hard, but I think that I managed to do it the best that I could, and I hope and hopefully the people who see Night Comes On agree with me, because it was hard, but at the end, when everything was done, it just felt perfect. It was perfect at the end, and yeah, it was just really nice.
Good kid. Good kid over here. Dominique, we mentioned the Deuce briefly. TV moves really fast. There isn't very much time for rehearsals on television. I know you get like you get to read through the script, or you get on a day, right? There's like script read-throughs or something like that. Table reads, excuse me.
Yeah, table reads. No, we actually only do that for the first episode of each season, and then we get emailed the script a couple of days before and read it, and then come to set.
So what was it like getting the chance to have a rehearsal?
Well, I started in theater, so that kind of brought me back to my first introduction to acting, where I got to come up with ideas and metaphors and show Jordana my journals that I wrote as Angel, or whatever I did that helped me prepare and allowed us to have dialogue about the character and stuff like that. You don't really get to. Fortunately, on the Deuce, like I could show Nina Noble, the producer, a journal that I wrote as Billy from Show Me a Hero or Darlene, and she loves it, and then she'll tell David. And then, like, recently I found out that he knew about these journals, and I didn't even know that he knew. So that, in terms of that, they're very open to collaboration and hearing our hearts. But to have the time to sit in the room and sit with the words, and Jordana asking me how I would say it if a line wasn't coming out the way, like, it didn't feel organic to me, and us having that dialogue was great. I didn't get that often.
Jordana, we talked at the beginning of this conversation about using the sort of revenge plot idea as a motivating force, or as an engine to sort of get the movie going. But once you start with that and you flirt with genre in any way, I find sometimes when you're writing or even when you're making a movie, you can have that insecurity of like, how far should I go into this? Because maybe the audience needs more of a machine to move forward, or maybe I'm not giving them exactly what they want by my setups. Did you ever have any insecurities like that once you sort of started playing with the gun and the revenge story?
Right. I mean, certainly I considered all of that, but I also thought, what I want to do is make a film that sets itself apart from all the films that are out there, and all the films that feel like they need to have a million things going on and a million cuts and, all this sort of, plot turns and all this stuff at every given moment, because God forbid anybody should be asked to have an attention span for longer than 2 seconds. And I believe that people do have attention spans, and I believe that that there's space in the what's out there for film to have a film that is a little bit slower, that allows you to sit inside of a feeling, that allows you to explore questions in your life, come up with answers, think about love and humanity. I believe that it's a necessary space to create and to continue to create for people. I think especially, I think we really undercredit young people for being able to sit in a kind of a feeling or kind of a pace. So I hope that they find the film, and that they enjoy it and take something from it. Because everything just moves so fast now, and we're such a glut of information, and there's so much noise, and it's so hard to just hear yourself think. And so I wanted this film to be a space for that.
I think it's one thing to have an idea when you start a project to do something in combating the way things are normally made or the way that stories are normally told, but to follow through on that is actually kind of brave because
Why it took 10 years to make.
Fair, yeah.
I was just thinking how brave that was. I think that's one of the things I most appreciate about the film was that Jordana allowed us to actually sit with the person. You know, we see her outside of her leave juvie, and then we see the course of her day where she has nowhere to go and no one to rely on. And how do you survive the night when you have nobody to turn to? And I love that she allowed the time to go for us to actually sit in that experience and experience what Angel was going through. I was just really, really proud of that and inspired in my own creativity to allow myself the time and space to do that and not fear it. You know?
Thank you.
It took 10 years to make, you said?
Yeah, it did. You know, from sort of the germinating idea to then sort of developing the story, and then you know, because I gave the character given circumstances that are not my own. For example, her background in foster care, it was important to me to then also find a partner, a co-writer that could speak firsthand to those experiences. I think anytime, you know, it's interesting. The question comes up, of course, with this film of, what is your right to tell a story of a background that's not your own? And it's been a stressful and difficult and grappling journey for me to understand what is my right in that. And what I've kind of wrestled with and settled with is that the very nature of art is the possibility of empathy. And if we don't allow ourselves the room to step into shoes that are not our own, then we miss out on a possibility for an empathic journey. However, in that, if you are choosing to tell a story of a misrepresented and underrepresented person, then to me it's vital. It's absolutely of vital importance that you invite a person who understands what walking in those shoes feels like. So in finding my co-writer, Angelica Wandu, through a foster youth organization that we were both part of, that was another step that really kind of brought it closer to living and breathing. And then through the applying to the Sundance Labs, and Sundance, we went through the Screenwriters Lab, and then I took it into the Directors Lab and the Composers Lab, and they helped really make this a reality. Their support, but then after that, even with that kind of stamp of approval, if you will, at least in the indie kind of film world, it was extremely difficult to find financing. So it took 2 more years of people just saying, yeah, it's a great script, not interested. And then Sundance came through again and invited us into what they call their Catalyst program, which helps you find financiers that aren't judging a script solely by its commercial potential, and that was necessary. And then casting, we were looking for over a year for Tatum, so all of these things, and to really feel like you're doing it in the way that you think is important and the way that you think is the thing that makes it special for you, at least, take time.
Let's get some questions from our audience. Who has a question? Right here.
Hi. I know. I was wondering if. After you're done filming, I know it was hard maybe during the shoot. Did the character still resonate with you once you were done? And did you, once you saw the film, did it come out like the way you expected it to as actors?
Okay. So Can you like repeat the question?
Yeah.
Well, I think he's asking if you had if it was easy for you to let go of the character and what it felt like the first time you saw the movie.
Oh, okay. So it was very hard for me to let go of Abby. Even after we finished shooting, I felt like I was still stuck in her shoes, her character, and it was very interesting seeing what, after all of the shooting, came out to be.
I find I got asked that question before with Darlene, and I find like I'll be in the moment and then they'll say cut and then I'll just start like talking to my castmates or something like that. And so I feel like I haven't found a way to actually let characters go. So they're probably just building up on top of each other inside, which is probably not a good thing.
Storing them in the back somewhere.
Yeah, I don't think I've let them go. I did go to Greece right after filming. We shot for like 30 days and I was out to Greece with my cousin. So I think in a way that probably let her go into the water, into another beach or something. And
I will say, though, that very quickly, her capacity to when she says, like, I just let these characters sort of build on each other, she's not joking around. She wrote a one-woman show where she played 22 different characters. So her capacity to hold on to characters is sort of, like, superhuman.
When was that have you performed the one-woman show where you play all these characters?
yeah, I perform it in the city sometimes. I'm looking for producers for it so that I can get an off-Broadway run. Because a lot of times I'll produce it myself and then it'll be in theater like a day or two showings and then it'll sell out and people will be like, when is the next? And I don't know, so I'm trying to build it up. But I do it in the city often and I want to do it in the fall. So I guess I'll let you guys know.
Amazing.
It's called Subverted and it's subvertedsolo.com. You can get more information.
Cool.
Thank you, Jordana.
Oh, it's a remarkable show.
One more question.
We're going to take our next question from an online viewer. Marcel would like to know, what are your favorite portrayals of sisters on screen? And this goes out to all of you.
This one. No.
Well, I mean, I grew up watching Sister, so I mean, I guess that would be like the best for me. I don't know.
I can't really answer that question because I haven't seen many shows where sisters were involved, except for watching Disney Channel when you watched Liv and Maddie, and they were like identical sisters. They were twin sisters. They were the exact same age, but had different personalities and different ways of living, which I feel like, now that I think about it, it's kind of like what Night Comes On was like, because in Night Comes On, we had two different motives, and we had two different personalities that were entirely different and drove us to entirely different goals in life.
It's the first thing that popped into my mind was Laverne and Shirley, but I guess that sort of dates me. It's funny that you say.
Were they sisters? I always thought they were
No,
friends.
they're not,
Okay.
But they felt like, they felt like
Sisterly.
Yeah, they felt sisterly. But it's funny, actually, that you say that about Disney princesses, and I normally have a very complicated antagonistic relationship with what they're portraying. I have a 3-year-old daughter, so I'm what's it called? I'm helicopter.
Parental duty?
A little, exactly. But it's funny because we had to, as we were sort of describing the characters to our young actresses that were coming in to audition for Abby, a lot of times we would say, you love your sister so much, but she abandons you. Because she loves you so much, and they couldn't wrap their head around that concept because it was too complicated. And so then my casting director at one point said, it's like Frozen. You know how Elsa has to leave? And a lot of the girls oh, okay, yeah. She doesn't know how to use her powers for good yet, And I was like, that's exactly what it is. So it's kind of funny.
So if you like Frozen, you'll love Night Comes On.
Exactly. We're going to start our musical soon.
When can people see Night Comes On? How can people see it?
August 3rd. It's going to be in select theaters in 10 different cities, New York being one of them at Cinema Village, and also on some online platforms as well. But August 3rd.
Fantastic. Everybody please give them a round of applause. Let's hear it.